So welcome to this webinar. I'm François, co-founder at Simplicate. The reason I'm presenting, I'm co-founder at Simplicate. It's a payment platform used by nonprofits, and we work with 4,000 nonprofits in North America, in the US, and in Canada. And among those nonprofits, there's probably 20% of them that works with animals that are SPCAs, human societies. And the goal of this webinar is to share best practices related sometimes to more general fundraising, because some things are shared, but in terms of example, really focusing on nonprofits working for animal welfare. And so we ask you, and I love you to keep answering during the presentation. You have the chat, you have the Q&A. You can really, the goal is really for this webinar to be interactive and for you to ask all the questions. But what you answered in advance is that you wanted unique ideas. It was a challenge you faced, reaching more people, standing out compared to other fundraisers or other organizations. You also said database management and meeting online fundraising goals. And with this, what we will discuss, well, first we'll discuss the challenges of online giving and how to overcome them. So it's more generalist about online giving. Then we'll give fundraising inspiration for events, about things we saw that worked really well for nonprofits working in the animal welfare. Then I will just give you a ton of free tools that you can use for different subjects in your organizations, really tools we know and we can recommend. And we'll discuss anything through an open Q&A discussion. So do you have any question? If you have questions, really feel free to add it. And maybe it will help me add a piece of information that changes everything, or maybe we'll just discuss that at the end and it will maybe give ideas to other people about questions. So starting with the challenge of online giving, which is really the one everybody has. The summary is, well, making it simple to support my organization without paying too much in tech fees. I think, if you don't relate or if it's easy for you, let me know in the chat. But basically, the evolution in terms of fundraising, well, in the past, well, it's not it's the far past when it was the only option, but it's still an option. It's basically check and cash. And more recent options went with PayPal to accept payment by credit card or PayPal, or wiring money through the bank. And now we see more and more nonprofits leveraging custom donation forms, so forms where you can pay by credit card, but it's your design and your own form. And on this, why do we see more and more people moving to a custom donation form? Well, you can change the aesthetic, the color, you can change what information is important for you to ask your donors. You have the tax receipt automation, you have easy access to donor information, and you can very, very easily customize the thank you message and branding you want to give. But I think you know this, but often the reason is that, well, it's costly, or it's a lot of tech cost to implement it. If we take a look at one organization that migrated to PayPal to a custom form, well, the good thing with PayPal, it's an easy option, low price point, but the con is that you don't have data about your donors, and it's more difficult to customize. The pros for another SPCA of having their own form, well, they chose the right orange that goes with the yellow so that it's really well embedded. They have tax receipts, they access information, they have a thank you note, and they still did it and with a 100% free option. So that's really more on the technological part, but it's not the only thing in the journey of, in the work of bringing more online donations. So it's a tool, but to really improve and design a good donor journey, you really have to think more generally than the part where they actually just pay. So if we think about the old way or like the in-person way that we had, was basically maybe I drive, I go to the shelter or to my local organization, I ask what they do, and I'm very impressed by their work. And so I ask how I can help, I do it, and then because I have a human in front of me, the person just say, oh, thank you, it's very kind of you. So that's the old way. But I think it's very helpful to think it with this journey, because today it's exactly the same. Basically, your supporters, they have to find you. So instead of looking at traffic and seeing, oh, where should I turn right to find them, it's just online. They will tap keywords to try to actually go to your organization. And now they arrive, they digitally knock, and they are in your website, but now they want to know, what are you doing for animals? What's your action? What are the things you do? And so here, it's really through a journey in their website that you will give this information. And finally, when people support you digitally, well, the thank you message, of course, is digital. And we'll see all these steps. I will give you 4 or 5 tips every time that are really actionable that you can do today, but not all of them, but probably 50% of them you can do today in 1 hour, and it has a very big impact. So the first thing is making sure people find you online. So here, the first item, probably the easiest one. So, I think you all know a bit more or less how it works, but the more traffic there is to your website, the higher it will be on Google. But it's not the only thing. It's also making sure you have a lot of links that go to your website and that your website is performing well. Basically, Google just wants to put the best website on top. And so here I give you ideas to be the best website and be on top of the research. First one, very easy, 10 minutes, just go to Google My Business and make sure all the informations are listed here. Seriously, it's a 5-minute step, and it really changes the place you will have. And when people type your organization on Google, instead of just having a line with your name on top, they will see a map and they will see more information about you. It will give you more credibility and just more room on the Google page. So 5 minutes, best investment ever. Second is more difficult, to be honest, but making sure your website is optimized for cell phones. Because now Google doesn't want to reward websites that are not well displayed on a cell phone, and 60% people are on cell phone. So this is more, if your website is not responsive, there's more work to do, but something to keep in the backlog. Then also a bit of work, but very, very actionable and very efficient, is to leverage Google Ads grant. So basically you get ads for free. And so you can tell Google that when people write things that support a local shelter, when they are close to your organization, they will see you. Or maybe, and not even for donations, maybe it's for looking for a foster family or things like that. That's keywords where you will be first, and they will just land to your organization for free. So it's for free, but there is a cost just to apply, submit the grant, etc. So you can't do all of those items at the same time. Then something super easy is to use the Google Search Console. Again, it's free. Once it's set up, you can just look at it for 10 minutes, and you will see what people type on Google to find you. And those keywords are super interesting, because then you can just make sure those keywords are written in your website. For example, if people write shelter a lot in your name, but you don't have shelter on your website written anywhere, well, Google won't say you're the right fit. But if you see people type this a lot, you will just add it to the title of your website, your local shelter, and now you will rank higher in Google. And finally, the most advanced two free tools that you can use to analyze other websites than yours. So if you are competing in a way with other organizations locally, you can look what are people typing in Google to find your website, but you can also see what they tap to go to the other website. And so this way is super important to make sure you stay competitive online in terms of direction. Basically, you don't want your, if you were a restaurant, you don't want your competitor restaurant to be in the big avenue and you're in the small street where no one drives. So that's it for the A. If you have any question or comment, feel free. We'll go back to this. The A was probably the more technical. We also have super easy concept. So this one, for example, is once I arrive to your website organization, it has to be, if you want to push me towards making a gift, it has to be super easy. Really what you should target is in one click, I land on the donation button or the donation page. Really, it's one click. If you are at 2, I think it's okay. It's not the end of the world. If you are at 3, not only you will lose people that won't find you, but you are also sending a message that it's not that important to you. Like if gifts are really important to you, by displaying a big donate button on the top right of your website, you're saying donors like, yeah, it's important that you support me. So that's really keeping clicks to a minimum, 2 clicks, and more like mobile friendly is essential. More than 1 out of 2 people now are browsing the internet on their devices. So there's only one trick, test it, go to your own cell phone and test your website. And you may have a bad surprise, but it's better that you have it and you can fix it. So third one is really in terms of how when you receive support, it might be money or time, it's explaining what it does for you. I think this is really the basic, but a bit more advanced is how deep you have to go in the explanation. And this, it depends who you're addressing your message to. Let's say if you are on your first page or you're addressing people that don't know well your organization, maybe they went just for an animal one day and never came back, you want to go in depth and maybe show a video or like really explaining everything you do. But if you are speaking with someone like in this page that is currently doing a gift, well, you don't have to go as much in depth. Just a subtle reminder of how the money is used will be enough, because you don't want to take their attention away to the form they are filling. So once they are in the process and they are very advanced in terms of actually doing a gift, just a subtle hint of what you're doing with their money is enough. And best practice is to use it in terms of money. So here you see $25 on the left, the basic vaccines that will protect one animal from the most common diseases. It's not like $25 that may be used for admin cost, or I don't know as a donor what it's used for. It's really actionable. I give $25 now, I may save one animal. So it's a lot of content. If you have questions, please stop me. I hope you're finding really actionable things you can do today. So making sure the impact is clear in terms of $1, what does it do? And last but not least, I think the statistics is 50% donors never receive a thank you email. So in the chat, maybe we can do a quick poll who has a thank you page, and I'm sure now most of you have one, so it's really great. And so that's why I want to go a bit more advanced. You can do really an automatic one. People accept this. They know you're not in front of your laptop all the time, but adding a human touch, I think, is really, really strong. And the only thing is that you have to find the ways for you not to be too time consuming. So maybe having just an easy template, or you can leverage some more advanced automation. But just maybe if you, at the end of the week, you BCC all the people that donated to you, you say, hey, thanks again for your donation. Really appreciate. Here is the latest project we did this week. It will mean the world to them. And it looks like it's not sustainable because it's not automated, but actually, if you do it once a week, it will completely change the relationship with those donors. Any question, any best practice maybe you want to share or you want to add on this? Really try to design this webinar with you and make sure it's relevant. So if you have anything you want to add on top, feel free to add in the chat or ask any question. A quick bonus for those that are more technical is measuring the conversion rate. So basically you measure how many people go to your website. Let's say if it's 100, and out of those, how many actually donate and support you. And that's really the one metric you can use to increase, to improve your website. So you can get to, you can easily, once you start measuring it, you will see you add a bigger button and by magic, it will increase. So that's really for the first challenge in terms of online giving. And the second one is about communication. So basically, it's a bit related to what I suggested in terms of online donation, like sending, automating, and doing something manual. But here the challenge is, I think, deeper. Is when you ask people what should be done in terms of communication, they tell you, well, it's easy. So you create unique content that you do very often, once a week an email, twice a day in the social media, once a quarter all your report, once a year your general summary, and you send it to the post, and you do one different for each of your audience. If some people want to foster one animal and not another one, you have to split them. So now you have to do unique contents 2 times. And I don't know if you feel like me, but it can be overwhelming to do everything. And the key we saw for nonprofits where they really manage to achieve their goal and to succeed is setting the right priorities. So you have to really think, and there's no right answer. It's like, what is the most important for you in terms of communication? Do you have people that are very, very different? Maybe some people in your audience, it's more transactional. Let's say they want to foster an animal. Well, when there is a cat that needs the foster family, they will come. And so they don't care if the content is unique. They just want to know the information. So in that case, what's important is segmentation. But maybe in your audience, you have the opposite. You have all kinds of people that just want to support the cause, and they just want to see things different every month, every other month. So here, you don't care about really doing smart segmentation, etc., etc. You just want to send something very unique and that shows really what you're doing and what is the impact. But once you start identifying those priorities, I think it's very relieving, because now it's not about having a ton of segments, ton of content, etc. It's just, okay, my priority is segmentation, and then my content, I will write it in 5 minutes and just send the right information in a plain email. So I think once you have your priorities, things become super easy, because now you just need to implement the infrastructures for those priorities. If segmentation is the key, you will use, we'll see before, a tool like MailChimp to do different tags and different groups. And that's it. And maybe you will connect your donation platform. And so automatically everything will be at the right segment. and you have nothing to worry about. And related to this, if you don't know your priority, well, the key is just to ask, like communicate with your supporters, communicate with your donors and ask them what they like in terms of content, or maybe they will say, yeah, I just feel it's interesting, but it's not for me. So this is just segmentation. Or if they say, oh, there's too much information, so maybe they don't want really unique content, they just want a gentle reminder, etc. And so more than feedback, you can easily measure engagement. So how long people spend on your content, where do they click, who opens your email, and this way you will also, a bit as a loop, go back to your priorities and see, okay, did you have the right priorities based on the engagement you see on your communication? So that was really for part one. A few challenges in online giving and overcome them. I know this kind of content, there's so much of this content everywhere. What we're trying to do is digest it and make it actionable to you. So do you have, maybe let's take a 1 minute break. Do you have questions? Do you have things you'd like to add, or challenges you feel were not really addressed that maybe you want to ask a question about? So I had a great, thank you. I have a question. So for example, my fundraising platform, it's Canva Helps. I don't know how to get analytics. So I think it's a very, very good question. So depending on the technology, for example, if you have a technology for fundraising, depending, you will have analytics in it or not in it. The key on this is just to be able to add the mainstream tools I presented earlier. So for example, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, etc. Even if your fundraising platform doesn't provide as much analytics, you will be able to add the tag. You can ask me for how to do it. And this way you will access all the analytics. So that's really first question. Now this part is really about fundraising inspiration for events. So just making sure that we do interesting, like just getting new ideas and making sure we reach our fundraising targets every year. And so we asked you in advance, and what came up the most often in terms of successful campaign was the following. So I'll let you read and take a bit my breath. So all those kind of raffles, auction, or items worked really, really well. And I think it's always a super nice success, both in for all nonprofits. So we also added a few ideas to first make it fun for your audience. First advice is know your audience, what they like. But I think this, you know. Then a super easy way to make it fun is using food and gift. But when we say gift, I think more and more people don't want a gift that they will just buy and waste, but something a bit meaningful and that they exactly need and know it's useful. Like, it's stupid, but we'll see just a cup. Even if it's a basic gift, it's something you always most often need another a cup, because that's an everyday, and you break, if you're like me, you break 3 every year. So you just have to replace them, like, or socks or everything that everyday goods, it's always working super well. Then, of course, exciting and fun goals and using partner for incentives. And here is the first example. You also have the link in the presentation, and I will send you the presentation, so you will have the link. And the idea was to do a kind of Santa photos with the dogs. And why it worked really well Well, first, it's something really fun. In Christmas, people just get our donation campaign, but no activities because it's end of year campaigns, and people assume that since it's the end of year, you can just ask for a donation. But this way, it was really fun. You would book an appointment. The costs were zero because it was a partnership with Royal Canin, so for dog food. And at the end of the fundraiser, every participant had a photo. So it was not a basic thank you email, but they really got the photos and they attended something very fun. And what I really like about those kind of activities is even if you do it really inexpensive, and if you say, look, just get your photos, it's $5 to attend, since you can always add the option to add a donation in the registration process, people will support you a lot. And so they don't see it as really a fundraiser because you're just asking $5. So it's like an activity, but they will still end up supporting you as much as for a true fundraising campaign. So any question on this example? Do you like it? Do you see yourself doing this? Any challenge that would prevent you from doing this? Another one, another one we saw in terms of like examples, it's the cup example. So it's a bit the same. It's just an everyday item. So cups, but designed for the audience. And they leveraged Mother's Day because, of course, it's a moment where you do a lot of gifts to your mother. And it was a super, super successful campaign. And I think with those kind of, like if we're a bit creative in terms of activities, gifts, and food, and we couple these three with the 10 special events we have in the year, it's almost unlimited what we can do in terms of new and fun ideas. I think my advice would be just write in a board the 5 big events happening in the next 4 months, like Mother's Day, Easter, etc. Then add the 5 activity people love to do with animals or related more or less, and you get the best fundraiser out of this. So then a cool idea was making hybrid events. So I think now it's 2022. You know what is a virtual event. You know it has advantages. It's pretty inexpensive because you don't have a place, but it's more or less fun. Some people might say it's boring, and some people might say they're sick of those virtual events. And so the great thing about doing it hybrid is that you will still have one event happening, but you're still giving the option for those who are remote or who don't want to attend for X or Y reason to participate. And this case is the Dog Jog 2022. And it was, again, very successful because, well, for local people, they were able to attend, but they also reached people across multiple states and provinces. And also, something they didn't plan in advance, but it was great for people whose dogs have a bit a tough character, and that can't be surrounded by dozens of other dogs. So they were able to still participate, but at their own pace. And so this is really the best of 2 worlds. You still get your one event where people attend and have fun, but for those who prefer or who can't be there this day, they don't feel left behind and they can participate. And not last, but almost last but not least, the one-day campaigns. So as we said, in the year, there is from Mother's Days to Giving Tuesdays, etc., tons of one-day campaigns. And often what we hear is okay, it's one day, but is it really worth doing a form and doing the communication, etc., etc., if I don't know how much I will get? But I think with the right technology, you can create now forms in literally minutes. And with social media, and if you prioritize well your communication in segment, you can get the word out super fast. So first is Giving Tuesday. Who doesn't know what is Giving Tuesday? Anyone? So everybody knows what is Giving Tuesday. So basically, it's the alternative to Black Friday. It's the Black Friday for good. So it means the Tuesday after Black Friday, people give all around the world, and there is massive communication that is done not only by your organization, but just by the movement itself. So let's say one of your supporters, they get an appeal from you, maybe they won't understand, but if they get an appeal from you, and then on LinkedIn, they see a post about Giving Tuesday. On Facebook, they see a post about Giving Tuesday. And on Instagram again, you feel, okay, so everybody is really doing a gift for this day. And okay, it's the right moment to participate, and they will support you. I forgot to look up the last number, but I think last Giving Tuesday, it was close to $400 million that were given on a single day in the US and Canada. So $400 million, I think it's really significant that you participate, and in a few days you can use it. So here you have a link also in the presentation. So Courtney, I'm super happy that you've never heard of it, not because because I'm happy that you were able to learn. If there's other really specific days you want to share, there is this one that's super, super interesting. It's the Betty White challenge, And the challenge is just she's a great supporter of animals, and she would have been 100 years old last January 17. And basically, everybody went out on Facebook and started a movement of giving $5 to the animal charity of their choice. And it raised literally, okay, I also didn't check how much they raised, but yeah, 12.7 million on Facebook and Instagram. And it's very unique because it's only for nonprofit supporting animals. So this one is really a great one for those who don't know. Next year, January 17. So those are the two most important ones. If you know any day, if you want to share in the chat any day that's more, like that's really unique and very good for you and that had a lot of traction, feel free to share. And last but not least, to make your event unique, when you go hybrid, is to leverage QR code. So thanks to COVID, okay, we now all use this technology and all know from a restaurant menu, etc. And so if you have an event that's in person, you can leave flyers or banners to say support the organization. They just flash the code and they can make a gift. So that's it for this part of the presentation. Again, any cool fundraiser you saw you want to chat about, or I can even promote to panelists someone who wants to tell more about a fundraiser. So that's really for online inspiration. Now I just want to share 3 tools that can help you get the best for your organization. And this one, it's really my favorite. It's Canva. So now at SimplyK, we now have a designer, but when we didn't have, we used to do everything on Canva. And this tool is really the most user-friendly design tools you could imagine. It's like it's a bit if Paint meets Adobe. It's as powerful as Adobe, but as intuitive as Paint, and it's entirely free. So if you need to design banners, pictures for your website, social media posts, really, this is the one I would recommend. I also added 2 other free options. So if you want, and if you want to add other one that can be that you use daily to do designs, feel free to add them in the chat. And then there is internal communication. Same with COVID, we've all been there. I think I just wanted to add, like, in addition to Teams, Google Meet, Zoom, etc., they all have limitation. At SimplyK, the best alternatives we found is really Discord. It's used by approximately 200 million people across the world. It used to be only for gaming, but you can use it for your internal communication. There is both chat, unlimited video, you can share files, pictures. Even now, where we are 30 people communicating on it, it's still the best tool for internal communication. So maybe if you don't know this one, it's worth giving a try if you're limited on Slack or on Teams. I had another one here. Sorry. So fundraising, there's a ton. So we talked about custom donation forms. There's a ton out there. There's no, like, the thing you should really think of is what's most important for your organization. Often it's the price, but sometimes it's key features such as auction, etc. Us at SimplyK, what we're proud of is really it's $0. Nobody pays. You'll never pay a dime to SimplyK, but there are also a ton of other fundraising platforms out there. And if you have new one or cool one you want to share, again, add it in the chat. Then emailing, we just did this summary, but I think you knew, but I think it's a very useful one if you're not happy with your emailing provider. My pick, like if you want to get something very good and intuitive, MailChimp is good. If you want something more powerful but less intuitive, I would go to Sending. So it's more like it's less expensive and you get more features, but you have to master it a bit. So MailChimp is probably a very easy solution. Then, of course, smaller events, Microsoft Teams and Zoom. Something very interesting that was brought to us is when you have a big digital event, sometimes you need, a big ticketing where people can register and do the live and do break rooms. So we had great feedback about Feedloop. So it's worth checking if you have a big virtual gala. And then CRM, here the question is, what is the size of how many contacts you have? Us at SimplyK, we offer a free CRM. It's good if you have maybe a few dozen contacts, but then if you have more contacts, I would recommend looking at things like HubSpot or Pipedrive that offer very good technological solutions and not too expensive. And so that's it for the tools. And the last part of this webinar is really about your pick, your subject, your challenge. So is there anything you'd like to ask or any questions you'd like to share and get maybe our answers from Stephanie and I, but maybe question from you in so that you can chat and exchange best practice. So take some time, and I think I have Chantal who raised her hand. Okay, I think you can talk, Chantal, if you want. I don't know if people can see you, but yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My question is about auctions, whether they be during an event or online. They are a lot of work, and I would like to know what is the simplest way to hold either a in-presence auction, like in parallel to any other event you're holding, or even an online auction. I know there are services that offer this, even persons that present themselves to us as being experts in this, and that for a fee, they will organize it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know your take on that.
It's an excellent question. So yes, exactly. There are companies that offer sometimes only the technology or technology plus services, or even technology items and services. I think, well, the more you add, the more you have fees. Honestly, except this auction, I don't really know them well. So I don't know if there's someone who wants to. So I know I could connect you with people I know that organize them so that they can provide maybe their best practice. I know it's nice when you add it live during the event, but I feel a bit limited to answer this question. I'm really sorry. Okay, you said I can. Yes, yeah.
Yes, if you have any names, anything that could help us, because we've never actually held one, but we'd like to start doing this. Except we don't have the manpower right now to organize all of this, not the manpower and time and etc.
Yeah, well, so you know, so Chantal, I will follow up. I also added my email in case you want to maybe just send me what's your goal and what you want to do. And definitely, I will first ask my colleagues at Sympicate if they help nonprofits organize it, or if they know nonprofits that could have a call with you just to provide their experience and a few like tips and tricks, what to avoid, what to do. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
I will write my email in the chat for anyone that have any information about this, or any other things that we'd like to explain. We'd like to learn about all this.
That's excellent. Courtney, thank you for your message. Maybe if you want do you want to take the chat, or like I can allow you to talk if you want, no obligation. But I think it's interesting. I don't know if you're speaking. But yeah, Chantal left her email, so okay, I have also bidding owl.com as a service. So I don't know if this was checking that, Chantal. I think I know one which is my online auction or something like this. I think the design is not excellent, but I think they offer a really good service. So in case. And bonfire, exactly. So I heard about this one. So they include, I think, items, right, Jamie? So just for your information, you are all allowed to talk if you want to unmute yourself and add anything or add any question.
Hi, this is Jamie. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we did a bonfire merch campaign, and I know our supporters proudly love to buy up anything and everything Kitsap Humane Society. Our very first bonfire campaign brought in just shy of $16,000, and it ran for 21 days. So they do take a chunk of the money, obviously, but the brilliant part about it is that we just have to upload the design concept, and then we promote it. That's all we have to do. They ship everything, they take care of everything, and then they just send us a check. It's probably one of the easiest revenue streams. And then you can also leave your campaigns open and do an online store. So now we have rolling revenue.
Excellent. So I will add it here. It's only for auctions, right?
No, it's not auctions. It's actually a merch campaign. So I know I was just thinking of other things that are kind of easier to manage
Excellent.
to bring in revenue.
And yeah, if you have any other question or challenge, or maybe types of fundraising, like an auction that you were trying to do, but you faced difficulties, or any recent challenge related to online fundraising, maybe I will have something, maybe you will have something to share in between. So maybe to give some inspiration, I added a few quotes from what you said about online fundraising when we ask you. In-person fundraising is still very needed to connect to the members of communities and support adoption. So obviously something can't be done digitally. So the key is probably to find the right balance. More about like different segments. People 15 younger, never an issue. More sometimes with people 70 and over, who are not all comfortable with that method. And it's the bread and butter. You reach more customer. It's easy to do as long as they don't have a long form to fill in. Any question on this? Yes, Courtney?
Sorry, my audio wasn't working for just a moment, so I was just trying to fix it, and I must have unmuted myself.
Working now. My final word, I think my feeling, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think the difficulty is that people tell us to do everything at the same time. You should communicate more, increase your digital strategy. You should do it in person, remote, hybrid. I think the key more than everything is to find the right priorities, because when you really think about it, people see something working for them and they have this natural idea is, oh, it worked for them, it will work for my friend. And so they say, hey, you have to do this. But they don't know why it worked and why it may not work in a different situation. And I think if I had one key understanding, is that each nonprofit is often different to another one. Each challenge is unique. And so you can't do everything, because we have small teams and we have our resources. So we need to really prioritize. And that's, I think, how we'll get the biggest win. Maybe digital fundraising is the most important. Maybe it's keeping this personal touch and refusing to have the option to donate online. Sometimes it's really the right thing to do, and it's really brave, because people tell you, no, you need to have this button, that's the new world. Well, sometimes it's the best for some people, but sometimes it's not the best for you. And so I think the key is really to trust yourself on what are your priorities, if I had a modest advice to give. Any question? I saw the question, avoiding donor burnout. I think that's a super interesting question. I'd love to get your 2 cents on this on your end. Like, what do you see? So how do you avoid your donors to be burned out? I think on my end, my advice would be just to my personal ways, my personal touch would be to a bit leverage data and see, like, not maybe in terms of money, but also in terms of number of people who participated, how it evolves with time. So you can't really know what is too much. Well, there is a bit this idea that 4 fundraisers a year is the right number, but maybe for some, it depends. For sometimes some people, they'd rather donate $20 every month because there is a different. So for example, there is this foster in Montreal, and where every time they do a fundraising campaign, it's because there is an animal that needs an expensive care, and so they just start the campaign and they get tons and tons of donations, and they do it very often because, well, unfortunately it happens a lot, and so it's small gifts, but every time there is a clear appeal and a clear need, and so people, they don't have this donor fatigue. So I think it's a bit by testing that I would recommend doing it. So if you don't have any question, I think I'll give you those extra 8 minutes. I don't know in your time zone if it was lunchtime. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you learned and you had interesting insights. Again, I'm just leaving my email. If you guys want to stay in touch, you can add yours if you want to share them together. And we'll share this the recording with you. And if you have any question, we love to help. Our mission at CMPK is to empower all nonprofits to have more impact. And so that's why we have a free platform. That's why we do free content, and we also answer questions for free. It's really about supporting nonprofit impact. And so anything, anytime, just contact us. So thank you so much and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.